What's up YouTube, Car Boss here. We're talking about car smart investing. Today's video is about eBay Authentication Program. Yeah, that's right. It's a service that we all need, but we all come to hate. So I just want to touch a bit about this, whereby there is a lot of videos that's been popping out recently about shipping issues, delays, and all this. A lot of negativity around this particular service, and I just want to talk a bit more in depth, not onto eBay's defense, but more or less what I think about this overall service and where I think that this is going in general. Okay, so again, these are just my personal opinions and my personal thoughts. There's no way I don't have any insider information on what's going on eBay and or anything like that. But given that I've been in this space for quite a fair bit, and things don't happen without a reason, and therefore I've made some conclusions by just my observation of what's going on with this authentication program. So let's talk a bit about the program itself, right? So I'm just speaking specifically for trading cards. I know they do authentication for other stuff like watches and sneakers, but just focusing on cards for the moment because that's what we're all here for today. Okay, so the program is pretty simple. Why eBay is doing this, so they're basically trying to get rid of a couple of things, right? So there has been a lot of issues relating to fraudulent transactions, cards not matching description that results in returns and refunds, just a lot of customer service nightmare from an eBay perspective, right? And of course that creates a lot of unhappy customers along the way, and maybe there is a attrition in terms of eBay users as a result of this service moving on to other kind of marketplaces that there's been sprouting up recently as well. So in effort to try to win back these set of customers, eBay has decided to step up and come up with a service to try to guarantee some of the items that's being transacted online. And in this case, for raw trading cards, value above $750 with several exceptions, right? So, in the case of sports cards, they do not authenticate patches and autograph cards, right? And of course, they do not authenticate any cards that's already been graded by any of the grading companies. So the logic and the reasoning behind this service is pretty sound, okay? And a part of the service is, number one, is actually to match whatever description from the seller, that when you send in the card, it's just to make sure that whatever that you have sent in, it matches the description from the actual card itself, maybe into some extent the condition, they're not actually doing any grading, but they are checking, if let's say you're actually declaring the card as a near mint, so they wouldn't pick up the card and, notice like a big dog ear on the side, stuff like that. So the service is done by a third-party authenticator. It's a CSG. So obviously they're done by certified professionals and not some random guy sitting in your basement. Okay, so eBay is doing all this for good reasons, and the results have, besides just giving just saying hey it's authenticated, they come in this nice packaging with this nice little folder slash cover, and a little a seal on the back, a tamper-proof seal whereby to certify that the card's already authenticated when it's stored inside that seal and inside a card saver. Okay, so that's all the good stuff, right? And of course, eBay is basically coming out and say that we're doing this for free. There's no cost at all, right? So that's a pretty important fact, which I'm going to touch on a bit later. Okay, now let's come to the bad stuff. So obviously, when this service was first introduced for the trading card side, sometime last month, people are talking about how much extra lead time that it would take to receive the cards at the end of the day, right? So we're talking about extra, potentially 1 to 2 weeks extra, which in any card market, be it sports or Marvel, that extra 1 to 2 weeks, it's a big deal, right? Because we're buying cards off eBay to either to bring it to a show, to flip, to send to PSA for grading, and all those kind of things, right? And 1 to 2 weeks out of timeline really messes up some of the stuff that we're doing. So obviously there's a lot of people whereby they're not very happy with this additional lead time. And recently, of course, we have the cases whereby some of the cards were sliding out of the loaders, sorry, not loaders, but the card savers, and potentially creating damage to the cards. I've not looked at each of these cases in detail, and to verify some of the claims that what these buyers are actually saying, that's been caused by the authenticators, whereby the cards were good when it's shipped out by the seller and somehow damaged along the way, whether or not it's been damaged during the authentication process itself or when it was actually put back into the case or during transit and all this kind of stuff. But basically, there's a lot of unhappy people, right? But at the same time, I believe that there are a lot of people who welcome the service, okay, especially when you're dealing with certain cards that is generally subject to counterfeits. If you talk about basketball cards, like the LeBron James 2003 Topps 221 paper, right? That's one of the most counterfeited cards out there. And having this authenticated by a third party for free, that's just add a level of confidence for you to buy these raw cards. And not to mention all the other older cards, right? What if you bought an 86 Fleer Jordan, right? Chances are it's likely going to be fake. It's quite hard to find authentic, genuine, raw Jordans in the wild. But having this free service just creates that extra layer for yourself, extra protection for yourself to, get that authentication done prior to sending it for professional grading. So that's something that people can take advantage of, right? But of course, what does this all mean, right? Why is eBay doing this, and what's their ulterior motive? You would say eBay would come out and tell you saying that, look, we're doing this for the people, we're doing this for the users. We hear a lot of complaints, and this is something that we're stepping up to do. It's no cost to you, and all of that, right? And it sounds good from the PR's perspective, but we all know that at some point in time, these costs is going to come back to us, and it's a matter of time when, and of course how much. And obviously when the time comes, whether eBay start charging, whether it's the buyer or the seller, a particular fee for this authentication process, right? You could call it $5 or $10, whatever it is, right? Either way, you're going to get another wave of unhappy consumers of eBay. And of course, eBay is not going to make this authentication an option. It's going to be compulsory. They may raise the threshold from 750 to 1,000, or maybe even reduce the threshold, but we won't know. But at some point in time, there will be a fee. eBay can't be absorbing this going forward, unless of course they are actually increasing the final value fee, right, which is actually just another way of just hiding this cost. But it's better off being transparent on adding the fee on top of buying and selling. But nevertheless, from where I see it, eBay is actually trying to provide value, right, to both the buyer and the seller here, by offering this authentication process. It gives buyers confidence, and also, sellers need to be kept on watch in that sense, right? They're trying to minimize the number of fraudulent sellers or unscrupulous sellers, trying to just make a quick buck. So eBay is trying to weed out these people, and also to give confidence to the buyers, and essentially they're creating value to the overall process, right? Right now it's at no cost, but sooner or later, this value, there is going to be monetary value tied to that particular service, right? If people start to really enjoy the authentication program and get a lot of confidence from it, people may actually start trading raw cards as pseudo graded cards or authenticated cards, right? Because of the seal, the tamper-proof seal that eBay has, and that alone may command a slight premium because it has gone through that particular process. I'm not sure whether eBay has gone out to these to everyone to say that, look, if anything, it has already the eBay seal, it does not need to go through the authentication process. Perhaps that will bypass, and take away that lead time issue. But once people start to realize that there is value to this authentication service, there is a potential chance for premium. So whether or not what kind of premium are we talking about? Is it in terms of percentage, in terms of dollars? Time is money, right? So having a service to authenticate the cards, as well as putting the extra lead time to it, these are all money. So obviously the seller who's holding on to the already authenticated cards would like to benefit from already experiencing all this lead time and authentication process, and will pass on with a premium on top to the next guy, and the next guy may be willing to pay because he doesn't have to go through all the hassle again. And once this situation actually happens and we reach to a point whereby the market actually embraces the authentication program of these authenticated cards and embraces that there is a premium on the value of this authentication service, that's when eBay will start to put a price tag on the service, right? Because then as a consumer, you will look at, hey, I'm able to charge, let's say, 30% on top of my raw card value because he has gone through all the authentication process. And it's for eBay, I would understand that I would then need to pay an extra, let's say $5 or $10 for subsequent authentication service for all my other cards. So people know that there is significant monetary value tied to this authentication process, and therefore be willing to pay a small fee. And that's essentially what the grading services are, right? PSA, the backers, the SGC. Of course, they actually grade condition of cards. In this case, we're only talking about authentication. So that's eBay's play of taking a slice of the pie, in advance from people like PSA and Beckett, because there might come to a point in time whereby people would just enjoy buying and selling raw cards that's been authenticated as opposed of getting things slapped, because getting things slapped, that's a whole big timeline and cost issue altogether. Paying $50 and waiting for your cards to come back for another further 6 months, and if your condition is a PSA 10, that's great, but if it comes back a PSA 8 or a 7, you practically just wasted time and money, whereby you could have just easily transacted your raw card or your authenticated raw card earlier and still enjoy the premium from the eBay's service. So I do see that this could be way ahead, as in much down the line, right? So we're talking maybe 6 months or a year, who knows. But I do foresee this thing happening. Like it or not, there'll come to a point whereby eBay is going to take some money back for this particular service. But what I'm trying to say is you shouldn't feel so bad, because I believe that the market will transition to put a certain premium or a certain value on all these authenticated cards that's already been performed by eBay. Those the ones that still in a tamper-proof seal. And when we get to that point, okay, paying that extra $5 or that extra $10 for that authentication fee feels like nothing. Okay, so that's my thoughts on this, right? So I'm not a supporter of this at the moment, like many of you, but obviously it's something that it's kind of like the teething issues that by the first batch going in. But I do see where this is going, right? And perhaps there will be some way to gain an advantage. I haven't really thought about that yet, but I know what eBay is thinking, and eventually we're just going to embrace eBay authentication. It's just one of those things that we have to go through when operating within this market. All right, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Do like and subscribe. Till the next one. Carbo's out.